Hi, it's that fantasy chick again, back again on another Wednesday for another live stream. And we have the Flash again. And from what I saw on the promo, it's going to be another filler episode. So this is the final season or the filler season, I should call it. But I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to watch it. It's the final season of the Flash, and I am going to watch it. Um, but have some things. We're going to talk about Superman and Lois, Gotham Knights again, yesterday's episodes. You know, Gotham Knights has always had my blood pressure high. And today we're going to talk about Jar Jar Binks. I meant to talk about this before, but I forgot about it. But a couple of episodes ago, um, when Grogu had his flashback, and the Jedi that helped him get away, that Jedi was played by the same actor who played Jar Jar Binks, and they were saying, that him playing that role was kind of like Jar Jar's redemption. So, of course, I have an article. Where is it? Did it go away? Ah, here we go. So let's see. It's Kotaku. Okay, so The Mandalorian finally honors Star Wars' most unfairly abused actor. Ahmad Best, the actor who plays Jar Jar Binks in the prequels, is given his time to shine. On the episode, this is not the latest episode anymore, but a cool Jedi appeared to save the day in a short but awesome flashback. However, what really made this sequence so memorable and exciting was that finally, after over 2 decades, the man who played the wildly reviled prequel CG character Jar Jar Binks finally got his chance to do something cool in Star Wars. Before we go any further, a warning that below you'll find spoilers for both The Mandalorian's latest season and episode. Don't say I didn't warn you. Um, okay. I'm trying to skip to while I enjoy. Okay, so what adventures would Baby Yoda and Space Daddy Mando get into this week? While I enjoyed the episode's main plot, which featured a massive flying alien dino thing and a lot of Mandalorian warriors, episode 20's clear standout was a flashback sequence. Not just because it was cool and revealed more of Grogu's past, which it did, but because it also starred Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmad Best as badass Jedi Master Kelleran Beck. However, don't get it twisted and assume this was the first time Best has appeared as Master Beck in Star Wars. No, this is actually the second time Best has played this particular Jedi, though the first time was in a very different context. Best played Beck as the host of a Star Wars game show, The Return of Jedi Master Kelleran Beck. During the events of Episode 20, Bo-Katan, Mando, and some members of his cult/family go off after a large monster that has absconded with a child. In the meantime, Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, stays behind, too young to go on such a dangerous hunt. While he waits around for Daddy to return, the leader of the group makes him some more armor. And during this process, all the banging, metal, liquid, steel, and loud machinery triggers a memory in Grogu. Specifically, he seems to remember more of how he survived Palpatine's genocidal Order 66. We've seen a hint of this before, but last night it was finally time to learn what happened. And it turns out Jedi Master Kelleran himself saved Grogu, as seen in a very cool action scene involving dual lightsabers, speeder bikes, and even the Naboo Royal Guard. While we have to wait to see what happens next, I can explain who Kelleran Beck is. The Jedi Master played by Best first appeared in the 2019 Disney Plus game show Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. He was the host of the whole thing, and in canon, this wasn't a game show but a way to test young Jedi. It's kind of weird. Anyway, at the time, it was cool to see Ahmad Best get to return to Star Wars as a Jedi, and while Beck doesn't get to do much during the game show's episodes, it was still a wonderful moment for Best after all the shit he went through playing Jar Jar Binks. Ahmad Best got death threats over playing Jar Jar. In 1999, in his first big film role ever, 25-year-old Ahmad Best played alien sidekick Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And as you probably know, the character didn't do well with adult fans and critics at the time. As a 9-year-old kid, I enjoyed Binks, but many people didn't just hate Binks, they loathed the character and would often harass and taunt Best over his performing Jar Jar. I had death threats through the internet, Best told Wired in 2017. I had people come to me and say, "You destroyed my childhood." That's difficult for a 25-year-old to hear. In fact, Best eventually admitted on social media that at one point during the worst of it all, he considered suicide. And let's be clear, you don't have to like Jar Jar, but the bullshit Best got for the character was wrong. It is a great reminder that people make the things you love and hate. Thankfully, Best has moved on from Jar Jar and has a wonderful family and a solid career. Still, I and many others wanted Best to come back to Star Wars in a big way. Sure, the hosting the gig on the game show was neat, but I wanted more. Best deserved it. So you can imagine how pumped I was last night when Grogu ended up being saved by Best Jedi character. It took 20 years of abuse and harassment, 20 years of suffering. He had to go through so much. He wanted to end it all even. But finally, in 2023, Ahmad Best got to portray a badass Jedi Master wielding 2 lightsabers and fighting off clone troopers without breaking a sweat. Not only that, he was saving Grogu, a new beloved character who in a different timeline could just as easily have ended up as the next Jar Jar. It almost feels like Best, in a meta way, saving Grogu from a similar fate to what he suffered over 2 decades ago. I assume we will see more of Best Jedi in a future episode of the show. There are still plenty of unanswered questions surrounding Grogu, but whatever. For now, I'm just happy that Ahmed Best finally got to escape the shadow of Jar Jar. Dude deserves his moment. So that was horrible. I didn't realize he received death threats over playing that character. I remember people hating Jar Jar Binks, but death threats was a bit too far. Because I didn't like Jar Jar either. I didn't like him, but he didn't ruin my childhood. It's like he didn't ruin my childhood. He didn't ruin Star Wars for me. I mean, the original trilogy still existed. It, I, I don't understand. Whatever. So, yeah. So people went that far, but he was able to redeem himself. with this character, who I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of. Of course, eventually something is going to happen to him because Grogu is um, found alone, but he must have protected him for some time before Grogu was discovered. Okay, so next, Superman and Lois. So we continue with the tearjerker storyline of Lois and her chemotherapy, and she's recovering from her chemotherapy session. And so Clark is like he's trying to do everything he can to make sure she rests, and he keeps the boys from fighting and tells them, don't bother her, don't bring your problems to her. As a matter of fact, get the hell out the house. Take all your nonsense somewhere else today. And then he's like, he goes to her, and we're going to binge watch movies today. And I forget how. Oh, okay. I was about to say I forget how it got back to John, but Henry Irons, whatever his name is. He was investigating the machine, the weapon that Bruno Mannheim's henchman was using against Superman that nearly killed him. And when he discovered it, it was made by technology that he himself created. So he figured that the John Henry Irons of this world must have made it. So he goes to Clark, and he's like, I think that the me of this world is connected to Bruno Mannheim, and it may have something to do with his death, and blah 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 blah. And Clark is like, yeah, we already know that. We've been investigating it. So that started a big fight between them because he had already told them not to investigate and blah 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 blah. So they're whisper fighting because Lois is in the other room, and she comes out, and he's like, oh, nothing important, and leaves. And so Clark makes an excuse to leave to go find John, and then they continue fighting at his house. But and then what's the boy's name? Not Jordan, but Jonathan, the one with the truck. He goes to try to get his girlfriend, but she wasn't there. But the father was there, and he has a confrontation with the father, and eventually the father punches him in the face. So when he goes home, he tries to sneak in the house without, his mother seeing the punch. But of course, she calls him on it, brings him down, and tries to get him to tell him what happened. He gives her a story. He gives her a lie that she knows is a lie. So she sits him down and gets him to start telling her the truth. And so he was like, well, it's all started when my truck got stolen. It's like, your truck got stolen. And then Jordan comes in, and she was like, did you know his truck got stolen? And then Jordan was busy looking at his face. But they had to admit, okay, he knew about the truck getting stolen, and they actually went and got it. Had to tell a story about how they went and got it back, and so that was a whole thing. And so Clark ended up getting called away because Clark was there, and while they were telling the story about the truck, he gets called away to I forget the name, the DOD. I was supposed to call it the DDS. The DOD. And so they can deal with his blood situation, because apparently Bruno Mannheim has Clark's blood, and this is what he's been injecting into people to give them powers. So he goes to handle that, and so she finally gets the whole story out of Jonathan, that it was his girlfriend's father who punched him. So of course she has to be, Karen mom gets the boys in the car and drives over there, and like they're like, basically trying to beg her not to do this. She goes up to the door, and like, did you hit my son? And blah 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 blah, and has an argument with the guy, and he pulls out a gun. And so the sons get out the car, of course, and Jordan's ready to handle it, but she was like, no, get in the car, we're leaving. So later on, they all tell the story to Clark, and Clark is like heated. So he immediately leaves the house, and she was like, this is not a job for Superman. He was like, Superman is not going. So Clark goes, finds the man. Man is at the diner, and tries to get him to go outside. He won't go outside. And so then the guy gets up, tries to push Clark, bounces off of Clark's chest like a ball, like a rubber ball. Bloop. Tries to hit him. Clark ducks and dodges him, and then slams him on the counter and tell him, don't you ever come near my family again, or I will find you. And that man told him to leave. That man hit it out of there like a rabbit. He was gone. And so eventually, Clark being Clark, he apologized to the diners and apologized to the daughter because she was there. And he eventually took the daughter home with him so she can see Jonathan. And so at the same time, John Henry Irons is meeting with Bruno Mannheim because he's trying to get him, because he realized that he was the one who helped Superman against his men. He was the one in the suit. So he's trying to get him to back off. And so he shows him a picture of the version of his sister on this earth. It's confusing, but his sister, the version of his sister that exists on this earth, is tied up with a bomb on her somewhere. And he's like, just walk away and she'll be fine. So of course, John tells him to go to hell, gets in his suit, flies to her, dismantles the bomb. And then he flies back to Bruno Mannheim, ready to tear him a new one. But Bruno Mannheim was like, I know where all your family is. And for a second, you think he's about to say Natalie, but his daughter. But then he goes, I know where all your family is, down in New Orleans. So he's talking about John Henry Irons' family from this world. So when John goes back and tells Clark about all of this, they decide, okay, we're going after Bruno Mannheim. But we have to, he's like, I need to give me time to make sure her and her family are safe first. So he's going to, I guess, do for them what he did for Lana, put them up in some sort of security system or something, or maybe move them away. But he's going to do something to try to protect them from Bruno, and then they're going to go after him. But it was a good episode. If you can't guess, my favorite part was when Clark slammed that man's head into the bar. That was hilarious, because that man, he was all big and bold, going after Jonathan and going after Lois, and then he thought Clark was the skinny guy with glasses. He thought he could bully him too, but Clark in the end got him. So now the girl is living with living with the Kents. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how they're gonna deal with living with one of their son's girlfriends under their roof. Shenanigans is going to ensue. Just shenanigans will ensue for sure. But they finally gave Jordan his own suit, which he really needed because he all he does is if he's going to be going and doing things with Superman and he's just wearing a hoodie, that that's not good enough. He needs something to wear when he's out with Superman. So a lot happened. A lot happened in yesterday's episode. And it was a good episode. Okay. On to Gotham Knights. So I'm drawing a blank. I know that Turner just finally discovers that his little butler is with the Court of Owls and that she betrayed him and Batman. They basically discovered how the Court of Owls were killing people. They were poisoning them with some hallucinogen. It was making them hallucinate until they killed themselves. So the Talon would stab them with this blade, and the blade would have the hallucinogen on it. And so everyone, like, they went back and they went through autopsies. They searched through all autopsies, going back as far as they could go in Gotham, and they found hundreds, if not thousands, if not thousands of autopsies with these special marks from that blade to show that these people were killed by the Court of Owls. And so, but the Cressida, the butler. I guess I'm calling it a butler, but we'll call her a housekeeper. She's the housekeeper. She poisoned Bruce's food. She kept poisoning his food until the hallucinogen got to him, and most likely he jumped out the window himself, and that's how he died. So that's how you kill Batman. You get him to kill himself. So along the way, they discovered that one of his lawyers had died maybe a couple of days after he did. And they go to his house to try to, find clues. And the house has been torn apart, and they discovered the son there. And the son tells him about how Bruce Wayne had came to change the will a couple of days before he died. And while the police were saying that Turner was being written out of the will, and that was his main motive, to kill everybody. To kill Bruce Wayne and to hire people to kill him for him. There was like, he was not. His lawyer was like, he was not being written out of the will. He called the cops. He called the main detective and told him Turner's not being written out of the will. And then a couple of days later, he's dead. So, they discover that the knife, because the blade was a special blade, so they try to figure out where this blade came from. They discovered it had been used by some serial killer from over 100 and something years ago, and they discovered that the guy who used it, he was hung, but his daughter was in a nursing home somewhere. So Robin and the Joker's daughter go to visit her in the nursing home. And while there, they start asking her about her father, and she starts telling them about her, like, and talking like he's still alive. So they think that somebody is posing as her father while visiting her. Um, but she has this jewelry box, music box with a ballerina that she got from her father, that of course the Joker's daughter stole in the end. And Robin took it and ran it for prints, and was able to eliminate everybody's prints on it, including the Joker's daughter. And the last set of prints belonged to her father, the serial killer. So, I mean, he supposedly died over 100 years ago, but so while they were checking out his while they were running the prints, they were sort of cutting back and forth with the scene at the Wayne Manor, because Turner had when he Turner discovered that Cressida was one of the Court of Owls. Robin came to rescue him from them, and they left through the back cave. And of course, the Talon was coming after him, and so she made it the cave in on him, and a bunch of rocks, just a huge pile of rocks, landed on him, and his whole body was crushed. And so while they were running the fingerprints, they were cutting back and forth between his crushed body laid out on the table with all of the people from the Court of Owls surrounding it, and them going through and eliminating people. And all of a sudden the body just starts moving, and it was mangled, and all the limbs start straightening out and start moving into place. And so I guess once they discover who that is, that's, I guess, once they realized the last set of prints was the serial killer. That's to let us know that that's who the Talon is. The Talon is the serial killer from over 100 years ago, and somehow this man is the undead. He cannot be killed. You can't kill him. So that's why he's their special assassin. You can't kill him, which does not bode well for them. I don't know how they're going to deal with someone who can't be killed. And the Court of Owls is everywhere, so I don't know how they're going to get out of this mess. When he was at the manor and the Court of Owls came and confronted Turner, they were like, join us and we'll give you your life back, but you got to turn over your 3 friends. And so, of course, he wasn't going to do that. But, they have the power to, in 1 minute, make him the most wanted man in Gotham, and then the next second, all of a sudden, bloop, it's gone. So crazy. So this, yeah, it wasn't as intense as other episodes. The thing that bothered me about this episode, it wasn't as high tension as the other episodes. But the thing that bothered me is they spent a lot of the off hours time down in the school, and that just had me on edge, because I'm just like, somebody could just walk in at any minute and just see them. Like, why are y'all just lounging around this school? But they're just determined to keep my blood pressure high. So I've lost track of how many episodes I've seen and how many are left. I've lost track. I'm gonna have to figure that out so I can get a countdown to 13. Countdown to the ends, because they've got to clear their name by the end, because if they don't, I can't keep watching. So that's it for today. Friday we'll have a video about my time at C2E2. And next Monday, I will be back with another live stream. Until then, thanks for watching.